Hey, y'all. It's your boy Wise, and we are back for another episode of the Triple Dose Podcast. I got to get my brother and sister in the room with me. Um, we are here for another episode. We got some good topics to discuss this week with you all. But before we jump into all of that, we are gonna start with our normal check-in. So, brother, sister, how you doing? How you living? How you feeling?
I'm doing good. I'm not going to complain. We're going to have a great week coming up. We are counting down again to summer break. I think we have 3 weeks left. And I'm trying to plan me some sort of quick getaway. And I waited last minute. And when I tell you, the beaches are booked to capacity already for June. I don't know how I'm going to make it happen, but where there's a will, there's a way. But other than that, I am doing wonderful.
That's what's up. I'm doing good too. I can't complain either. I'm actually just flew back in today. So I had my little mini, kind of vacay and I'm feeling good. I do wish I had just one more day, but I'm grateful I was able to do what I needed to do. Back to the grind this week. Like I said, I'm gonna start off positive and hopefully, I can keep this zen for a little bit. How about you guys?
I really felt that I need just one more day. I feel like we need to have regular 3-day weekends every couple of weeks. Like every 2 weeks, it need to be a 3-day weekend. Cause sometimes you just need an extra day. It don't 2 days don't be enough. But I've been doing pretty good between the last show and this one. The weather has gotten much nicer and warmer, and that always helps me and my mood. And the days get a little bit longer, and that makes me feel good. I did wake up feeling a little sick this morning. I don't know what's going on. My stomach was just, it was hurting. I was in pain, but it kind of has subsided. I took me a little nappy nap. So hopefully that can just be gone. But see, that's the other thing. It's like you only get a certain amount of days off, and then the weekend come, you want to be sick, or you gotta have stuff to do, and it's like you can't even enjoy. It's always something coming in. But I'm gonna make it through, and like you said, Wesley, just a couple more weeks school, and then we can be free for real. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into this week's talking points. I'll start with my little topic here quick because I don't have anything to show, but I know y'all it's been a lot going on this week, so I feel like it's been a lot of moving parts. But if you recall at the beginning of this week, I think it was the beginning of this week, there was a controversy about, your Atlanta people, Wesley. Because this video had gone viral of this individual, and I don't know anything about the individual or anything other than that they were in Atlanta and they were promoting a class that they were teaching, where they were training people to be what they call veneer techs. Now I do air quotes veneer techs because a veneer tech is not a real thing. It's not a real job. It's not a real certification. However, this person, I believe, was charging, I think it was like $2,000 or something for a 2-week course, teaching people with no dental background at all whatsoever, to do veneers outside of their homes. And there was this big controversy because there were individuals on the internet who felt like we should not be downing people for their hustle, and that if this is what they want to do to make money, and we got to stop being crabs in the barrel and pulling people down and letting people do what they got to do to get their money. And then there was people on the other side who, like me, was like, this is not a real job, and also this is very dangerous, and dentists are doctors, and you should not be doing any kind of dental procedures out of people's homes. So when y'all saw that, what did y'all think? I mean, I already kind of got an idea what y'all think, but I want to know what y'all thoughts were, and then I have a follow-up question.
I guess I go to, I'm not surprised because I live here, so I'm not surprised, but I understand where all this stems from. So of course I would never go to a veneer tech, right? I'm educated enough, smart enough, have enough common sense to know that that's not the proper, healthy, right thing to do, correct? However, Atlanta is a real place. And people that say it's not a real place. No, it's a real place. And when you live here, if you've never been to a place where you see a lot of Black excellence, where you see Black folks who are doing extremely, extremely well, and not just like a few, right? Like in some of these other places around the country, you have a couple sprinkle of Black folks, whatever. But in a city like this, I mean, there are all Black suburbs. There are all Black. You can find just every type of business, specialty, doctor. You could find a Black person who does that work. So I think sometimes when you live here and you see that, people want that hustle. People are like, okay, I want to live in this neighborhood. I want to drive this type of car. I want to have these type of bags and these clothes. And so they're gonna do whatever they got to do to get it. And so, this is the thing, y'all. Though y'all got to pick hustles that are legitimate and that are not illegal. This got to be illegal.
Yeah, it is.
Like, come on,
impersonating a doctor.
You can't practice dentistry if you don't have a DDS.
That's my thing. But I have a question. How does this differ from people who get like golds? Like, remember, like our grandparents have, like, I think all 4 of our grandparents have a gold tooth. So it's like, how did that work back then? I don't know, because I wasn't around back then. Like, did you go to a go-to shop and then they put it on? Like, how did that work?
I think that was just a stylistic choice because people had dentures, so you just probably had one put on
on their tooth.
Correct.
Oh, okay, I was just curious.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know. But like I said, you got to find a hustle that's a real hustle. I mean, this is all I can say. It won't be me. I won't do it. I get that people might decide to go to a veneer tech because they can't afford to actually go to an actual dentist and get the work done correctly. I just feel like, almost like when they say a good tattoo ain't cheap and a cheap tattoo ain't good. Like, it's the same thing when it comes, I feel like, to dental work, because you're not going to play in my mouth. Your mouth is tied to so many different things, and you can get, if you get an infection, some kind of bacteria or decay or anything going on, you got these people just going in your mouth, messing up stuff, and they don't know the first thing about different, infections or nerves, and or even like if something happens now, they can't prescribe you a antibiotic. They can't, give you a medication or a pill for something. So you're supposed to just get these veneers and just take some Tylenol or some ibuprofen. Like, they can't give you, the numbing sensation. I mean, if they are, I don't know what they're doing, because you don't, how I don't know.
That would be egregious.
How are you putting this on? And then, like, I know for some people, when they get the veneers and things like that, they have to shave their natural teeth down. I don't know what they're doing what these veneer techs are doing to get these your teeth placed, but I would not trust somebody who like that to just shave my teeth down. And if they're using this, I don't know what they're also using to create the actual veneer, because they're supposed to shape it to your mouth, and you're supposed to have teeth that fit your specific mouth and face.
We know they ain't doing that.
If you're doing something of that nature, then I'm gonna assume that they're probably cutting corners and cutting costs to use some kind of compound or mixture that's very, very cheap, that we don't know where it's coming from, for them to actually create this mold and create these veneers. So yeah, I would definitely be I would not be the one to go and get some veneers from Veneers Tech, and I would ask God to spare me so that I won't ever have to use veneers, because the thought of shaving down or just putting something over my natural teeth just kind of feels weird to me. And so I'm just going to thank God I have dental insurance, and that I'm going to pray that if anything happened, I could have the, finances or, to get the right things in place.
Listen, because the thing about me is, my teeth are gonna be right. I'm gonna go to the dentist. I'm gonna have to put it on credit card. I don't know what I have to take out a personal loan, but if it come down to it,
yeah,
I'm going to a real dentist. Look, I get a little bit of anxiety going to a real dentist. I can't imagine going to somebody's basement house getting dental work done. There's no way my body would be able to let me relax into that situation. It's just, I would never be able to do it. Furthermore, if you get, some veneers or whatever dental work at somebody that's their house and they're not an actual dentist, and you try to go to a real dentist, they might not even repair the work or the damage that was done, because it could be too far gone. It could be, I don't want my name credited with this, and so you just have to be careful and do your due diligence on these situations. Now, My next question is, now we did discuss that it was illegal, but you know how they got the saying that if you build it, the people will come.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who are we blaming here? Because clearly they have a customer base that's willing to get veneers done in people's basements.
I mean,
so is they wrong for cornering the market, or is the people wrong for going? I mean, because you won't catch me.
I mean, it's both of them. Just like with the illegal butt shots, it was wrong. Your girl shouldn't have been going to them basements to get them butt shots, and the people shouldn't have been doing it. Now, what's going to happen? This is the thing, though. Who burdens the legal responsibility is always the person doing it, right? The girls who was getting the butt shots, they might have been in the hospital, but they ain't went to jail. The people who went to jail was the ones who was doing it. So I venture to believe that what's probably going to happen is, unfortunately, something going to happen to somebody's teeth, somebody's mouth,
somebody's health,
something going to happen. And you got to realize that's why going to the dentist regularly is so important. Like an infection in your mouth can go to your brain. It can go to your heart. Like you really have to be careful. So I think, unfortunately, what's going to happen is somebody going to get sick and then somebody going to get prosecuted. I mean, I don't laugh about it, but I think that's probably what's going to happen. But you have to, take care of yourself and not put yourself in those situations.
Because when these veneer techs, just like the people you said who were doing illegal butt shots, they don't have a governing board. They're not, they're not licensed. There's no accountability. When you can't come and be like, I'm going to sue you. No, you took the chance to go to this shoddy person. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, something's probably going to happen to where, now they got to prosecute somebody for something. But my thing is, who is the first person who thought, let me go and teach this course? Like, what background do they have? It's my thing. Like, how do you just be like, oh, I'm going to, teach this course and now you're going to get your certificate? What does a certificate even mean from somebody? It's right. It means nothing. So why are you... So what's the point of me going to get a test?
It's not like it's accredited.
Because they're teaching you to scam. I don't know how to do veneers. This person, they might have worked in a dental office or something and seen a couple of procedures. They know what tools and stuff they need. And
they watch a couple of YouTube videos. And look, you can in textbooks, you can buy. I mean, textbooks aren't gatekept. You can just go down to the bar, look up.
I doubt that they did all of that. I really do. I bet it was somebody that was down to the dental office that was watching some procedures and said, you know what, I can do this. My concern also is where you getting the supplies, the tools and stuff.
Are they
the tools that you reuse? Not
sterile.
Are they sterile? Yeah.
Right. Because my thing is, you're going to get people who cut corners. So even if you do take this class, and even if this class does tell you this is what you need to do to remain sterile, this is what you have to do. There's people who don't care because they want to get the money and they don't want to take the time to buy the products to sterilize things or keep it up to date. It's going to be people who don't going to continue to cut corners because you're getting a person who's cutting corners already by doing this to begin with.
There's no checks and balances, right? There's nothing on the line. If I'm a dentist, I have my bachelor's degree, my medical degree, all that years of work is on the line. So I'm not going to cut corners in a way that's going to cost me all of what I've earned, right? Well, you have nothing to lose. What's the checks and balances? There's no need for it.
They're just finding another hustle.
Really. So I don't know what it is in the air about Atlanta. I mean, Wesley, you gave your explanation, but I just, the scammers down there, be careful, y'all. Please.
Switching gears a little bit, so back to this. It's been a crazy week, a busy week out here in these streets, and our girl, we talked about Tamar on the show quite a few times, and we like Tamar, enjoy her, but we do see that she has some problematic ways, and she's been in the top of a conversation this week for two separate things, and I want to show both clips. I'll talk about them each, but I see a common thread in the situations that I want to bring to the forefront. So can we just play one of the clips?
Be fan like that.
As Timon had the t-shirt on.
No, wait.
Devastating.
No. Wait a minute. I don't want you guys to take it out of context here. I'm not saying that I don't like her music. I'm not saying that she wasn't a phenomenal singer. I'm not saying her songs wasn't amazing. But for me, because you asked me a personal question, my personal preference will always be Mariah Carey. Period.
So I think some of the audio cut off a little bit in the beginning, but basically she says, in the beginning she says, "Oh, I'm not really a Whitney Houston fan like that. I've never really been a big Whitney Houston fan like that." So of course, people saw this clip and they were like, making comments about it, and as of course she defended herself online as well about this. And I actually don't think there's a problem for a person to have a preference with who or what they like. But I think there's always a way we can say things. Can we show the second clip and then I'll bring them together?
Oh, but you know what I mean. I'm not trying.
Hold on, let me run it back.
But
Is it not? I can just talk about it if it's not going to work.
Hold on, let me see. I don't know.
But
This
I
thing is
appreciate
technical.
it. I like it because it was a couple of people who should not have been singing country black music that was awful, and it was concerning for me.
Care to mention a few?
No, but you know what I mean. I'm not trying to be funny.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be funny. It just didn't sound good,
Yeah.
and you got to make sure.
So that was in response. The interviewers asked her about Cowboy Carter, right? And so that was her saying that in the beginning, she does say that she enjoyed Cowboy Carter. And then she goes on and she names some black singers, country singers who she likes. And then she ended it by saying that what you just heard, that there are some folks who shouldn't have been singing and didn't sound right. And I think that the common vein here, again, is I don't understand why she always has to go the negative route. Like, I feel like there's a way you can pivot these questions where it doesn't have to be negative. So I'll give you an example. Let's go back to Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston. I'm not really a big Mariah Carey. I'm not a really big Whitney Houston fan like that. And then she goes on and go her spiel. All you had to say was, you know what? They're both vocalists. They both are just amazing singers. They're very talented. But man, if you're making me choose, I gotta say, like, I really relate more to Mariah Carey's discography. Simple, right? It don't have that tinge of underlying negativity to it or shade to it.
Mm-hmm.
Even with the Cowboy Carter part, there was no need to even bring up the two artists or the other artists who shouldn't be singing country music. Like, just say you enjoyed the album. Just say you enjoyed, these other black country singers and leave it at that. Why? I get confused as to why she pivots to the negative or goes to the negative and then gets surprised when people like are bashing her for it. Because for the Cowboy Carter situation, of course, everybody thought she was talking about K. Michelle because she and K. Michelle have had beef in the past. They didn't get along in the past. And K. Michelle also has been very vocal about wanting to sing country music. She lives in Nashville, I believe. She records there now and has a couple of country songs. So, and then Tamar gets online and says she wasn't talking about Kay, but it's like, why do you think she does that? Why do you think she just goes the negative?
I mean, I think it's attention. I mean, she's the type of person who feeds off that attention. We've talked about that before. And she just, it almost seemed like it's like she can't help it. It almost seems like it's just she can't even just leave well enough alone. You know what I mean? Like, and it just naturally comes out of her. I don't know. She needs to work on that. I really do think she needs to work on that. I agree that I think it's all about how you word things, and then both of those instances, she just chose the poorest way to word those things. Like, and I feel like I can't help but think that you've done that to garner attention for yourself. And then I don't know if you're gonna talk about the video that she did after the fact.
You can talk about it.
Well, so after the K. Michelle, or people assuming that she was talking about K. Michelle when she was talking about the country Cowboy Carter situation, she does a video where she's driving in her car and she's like, I wasn't talking about her. I don't know why I was assuming I was talking about her. If I was talking about her, I would have said her name. Like I said with Candy, like she just continuing to be messy in the situation. And she just, throwing a rock and hiding her hand. And I feel like Tamar just needs to grow up. She's almost, what, 45? Like, I just need you to grow up for real. This is getting old. It really is.
Yeah, so I definitely feel like this is a pattern with Tamar. Um, she constantly gets herself in these situations, like, and I don't know why she hasn't learned from it by now. The only thing I can say is, again, maybe it's the fact that she just does it to, again, garner that attention, because I do feel like there are times where she does or say things to get like an attention on her again. And we all can say, if you watched Breakfast and Family Values or the Tamar and Vince show and just things over the course of time, some people might call her attention seeking, but I just feel like these instances have happened so much that if you haven't learned, if you hadn't gotten any media training by now, then it makes me feel like it's intentional to have a back and forth with somebody, to have an argument with somebody, get more attention about people, for whatever reason. It's just like, but you're getting the bad attention. Like every time we get into these back and forths, it's because we're getting bad attention. You're going at it with somebody, and I think that for you to be like, oh, I wasn't talking about her. Well, who were you talking about? Because what other Black artist that we know who has been tapping into the country music for the past few years, who's made, who else do we know? Because you're not talking about the other Black country artists that Beyonce had actually put on. Like, you know what I mean? So who else would it be other than who we all know to be, K Michelle, which we know y'all had beef with? And you saying you would say her name? I don't think you would, because when he asked you to put a name on it, you said no.
Right.
So you probably just didn't want to say it, but you didn't think people was gonna. I don't know if you didn't think people were gonna be smart enough to catch on and know who you were talking about. But like, let's be clear, who else would it have been?
She knew. She knew exactly what she was doing. That's why I don't like the whole throwing a rock and hiding a hand. You know exactly what you was doing, so just stand in that.
Yeah, I would say one last thing. You mentioned media training, and I feel like they've gotten rid of that. Because I feel like a lot of these celebrities be out here just with the Twitter fingers and the Instagram fingers and the posts. Like, I think maybe only certain ones get it, but I'm seeing a lot of just mishaps and missteps with some of these celebrities, and they posting. It's like in their interviews, like maybe they got rid of the media training, and people need to invest in that again. Because let me give her the benefit. Let me just say hypothetically that she was not talking about K Michelle, and she had no intention of being messy. Just to say she did. Maybe the media training will help you so you know how to then pivot those questions so that you answer them better. But it makes it look like, girl, you know better. And so you're being messy. But I just felt like those two examples just show like, man, you didn't have to even go that route and you chose to.
Yeah. So pivoting on. Oh, and before I move on, even if Whitney wasn't your cup of tea, what we not gonna do is, I know she did try to kind of scoop in there and give her flowers and whatnot, but we can't. No, what we not gonna do is we can't ever put. I'm not saying she put her down, but you got to know those are two legends. And different in their own right, but
it was the tone and what it was.
It really was.
It was. I ain't a really Whitney Houston fan like that. That was just, she didn't have to say that.
And one of the things, and I'm gonna be honest, and I've said this on the podcast before, and y'all try to light me up, but I kind of agree with Tamar personally. I agree with the comment that she made. I just don't agree with the way she said it. I think when you are in delicate situations and you're trying to communicate a message that is dicey, you always want to front load with the positivity.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's common sense, right? When you want to make a critique about something or someone and you care about them, or you don't want to hurt their feelings, but you want to be honest, you front load with the positive. Even when, I mean, I won't even get all that, but even on like in my job, the way that we get feedback, like you do it in a way that's going to be constructive, and not detrimental. And I think the way that she just approached it was just wrong. Like, it was just wrong, and you had to know it was wrong.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I feel like I'm just tired of, because every now and then she goes on this rant about how she's changed and she's working for the better, and she not the same person anymore. And then we get through these things, and I'm like, I know people make mistakes, but the growth, you keep going.
I bet you. I bet you Tamar got in a lot of fights. I bet you I bet you she ran her mouth a lot in school, and her sisters had to come and fight for her because, I could just see it. Maybe I don't know for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was the story. But anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, moving along. Speaking about fights. So the past couple weeks, it's been a lot going on. Okay. It's been a lot of beefing going on. And this Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef has been going back and forth, and just this past weekend it just went up a notch. Okay. So let me start by saying, apparently, I'm not always tapped into everything that goes on in hip hop and things like that. So I am not here to say I am the know-it-all of everything. But what I will say is, in my research and seeing some things, apparently this Drake and Kendrick beef goes back years. This is not new. It goes back years, but it's kind of resurfacing because apparently J. Cole and Drake did a song together back in October called Like That. And on that song, I guess I'm sorry, let me go back. I messed up. That wasn't that. It was called First Person Shooter. I'm mixing up. J. Cole and Drake did their song called First Person Shooter, in which on that song, they alluded to a big three when it comes to rap. And so they were saying it would have been J. Cole, Drake, and Kendrick Lamar as the big three. On the song, Drake referred to himself almost like as the Michael Jackson of things, in this big three. And so just from that, I want to ask you guys a question. When you think about rap, hip hop, and where it is today, do you think Drake is in your top 5?
So let me ask a question for. Okay, so I thought the big three was Drake, J. Cole, and Future.
No,
but it was Kendrick.
He talked about himself, Drake, and Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
J. Cole did, being the big three.
Okay.
And
Now,
in the song, Drake referred to himself as like the Michael Jackson.
So you're asking me, do I think Drake is in the top 5 of hip hop artists of all time?
I mean,
or currently?
He's saying like this is like the big three, because then he's saying he also singled himself out as like the Muhammad Ali, so the GOAT of it all.
Right. Big three, like so I'm still currently, like right now. I mean, okay, let me be 100% honest. Rap, hip hop is not my favorite genre of music.
Okay.
So I don't listen to a lot of it that often. I hear the hits, and I know the songs and stuff, but like I don't listen to a lot of like new hip hop. I feel like my hip hop era peaked when I was like in high school ish, college, when like, Drake was big then.
Yeah.
I don't think I would put him in I don't know if he would go on my top 5 of all time. If we're talking about all time, I don't think I would say that. No.
Okay. What about you, Wes?
Okay, so I think we have to be fair, right? So Drake has done a lot, musically and in the rap game, hip hop game, or whatever the case may be. I'm a little older, and I think old school Drake might have been, but when I look like at my age now, when I really think about like some of my favorites, honestly, like I go down south, Bun B, 8 Ball, MJG, like that was my type of that was the music I like. Like I was really big into Jeezy, and like that was really the music that I really like was formative for me. Middle school, high school, college, like early years, where it's like, okay, that was the music I really was rocking with. So is Drake in my top 5? No, but he in my top 10.
Yeah. I could see that. And let me correct myself. I'm sorry. It was J. Cole that dubbed himself as the Muhammad Ali of it all. And Drake said he was a Michael Jackson, like referred to him as Michael Jackson. So for myself, I would say I definitely have to give Drake his props. There was a time where I loved me some Drake. Obviously when he first came out, loved him, seen him in concert a couple times. and it was very a part of my, like you said, like early collegehood, late high school, early college, times where I was definitely in love and love his music. I can say he obviously has, I would say, going further than I probably would have thought he would have back then. I didn't, he's still big today. A lot of people still love him. He has a big fan base. Give him his props is due. Now, when it comes to this big three in the song, and you talking about J. Cole, Drake, and Kendrick Lamar, I kind of feel like they're a little bit different, I would say.
Mhm.
I do love
A
J.
lot
Cole.
different. It's not a
Yeah,
little bit. It's a
not
lot
even a little,
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
I do think J. Cole and Kendrick are a little bit more on the same level when it comes to their rap
Mhm.
styles. And I love both of them as well. So I just feel like Drake doesn't fit in that same category. Not to say one's higher or above, but it's just different. You know what I mean? So, I get what
His genre of rap was different when he first came out.
it was.
Okay.
And so because
It
of that, he garnered a different kind of fan base in the beginning.
Mhm.
Now, over the last few years, it's shifted, and he's been
Correct.
trying to be. He's more of
Commercial. I think he's more commercial. I think he's more pop now.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point I was going to make. I think maybe in his early career, I think he could have been more aligned with Kendrick and J. Cole at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But there definitely was a shift. I think right around when he started collaborating a lot with Future, he kind of leaned more into that more trap sound.
and the more the more misogynist type of lyrics.
Correct.
And the
Right.
more like it's just 'cause
Correct.
when he first came out, it was more like, first of all, he was doing singing and rapping. Let's
Correct.
be clear.
Yeah.
He had songs that were more about like women and him like being either in love with them or in extreme like with them, or like his
They called
feelings.
him a simp because he was
Yeah,
so
so they were caught. There was a lot of folks didn't like, a lot of the
hip-hop.
more popular hip hop heads and or even the artists sometimes didn't really rock with him because of that message that he was giving out back then. But he was making money. I mean, he was going on tour. He was going platinum, all these albums.
He
making
had the
album
ladies.
after album, having all the girls. So I think that was one thing. But I also think that bothered him. I do think that the idea that people didn't look at Drake as tough,
As a
or
hard
a hardcore rapper, I think then a lot of these guys were disrespectful to him.
It's
So
the exact same thing as Will Smith, right? He had talked about that in his book. When he came out, the type of rap that he did was different than the hardcore gangster rap that was coming out at the late 80s, early 90s. And he felt the way about that. And I think it could be the same for Drake too.
Well, we'll get to that. So then, okay, so that's what kind of resurfaced a little bit more of the beef. Like I said, if you want to go back and do your research, you can find the information. There's a whole bunch of other information about them going back and forth with each other over the past 10 plus years. Okay, so that dropped in October. So then in March, Kendrick Lamar's song drops a song called Like That. And in that song, he goes in and disses Drake and J. Cole. And basically, he said, like, there's no big three, it's big me. So he's like, forget both of y'all, I'm the one, and he goes on and talks more about things with Drake. So after that, Drake comes out with his follow-up, which is called Push-Ups. And in this song, he talks about Kendrick Lamar being how you this man, you this little guy or whatever. He talks about how Kendrick Lamar has also collaborated with some pop artists as well, things like that. And that was supposed to be his little comeback. Now, this Push-Ups that Drake came out with did sample beats from B.I.G.'s 1997 song "What's Beef." So he put it out there. Okay, we about to go at it. We got to do this. So a couple days, let's see, maybe 10, 11 days later, after Drake does his, Kendrick Lamar drops his song, Euphoria. And so basically on this track, Lamar goes in talking about how he makes a certain type of music and Drake makes a certain type of music. This is also a play on Euphoria, the television show that Drake has produced, which we all know. I think it's an HBO show. He makes some comments in there about different things about Drake's involvement in that. And then before Drake could even make another comeback on May 3rd, Kendrick Lamar has another follow-up breaker for Drake called 616 in LA. And he posted that on Instagram with the picture of some gloves with the Maybach Music's like monogram on the gloves. Now, prior to this, I believe Drake and Rick Ross has also been going back and forth and beefing. So everybody knows Rick Ross is with the Maybach Music. So in this 616 in LA, they also talk about how that song, it's a lot of other metaphors that we can come up with, but 616, June 16th is in Canada, Canada's Father's Day. It's also Tupac's birthday, I believe, and it's also, I think, one of the dates that Kendrick Lamar like went on tour with. Was it? I'm not sure if it was with Drake or he was just in Canada at one point. But basically, also in this beef, Kendrick Lamar has been talking about how of a bad parent Drake is. So it's just like they're trying to like, okay, is this a play on different things? But also it's also kind of like, you know, Drake is known for kind of putting like little things in his song, like, oh, he has a song about 4 p.m. in Calabasas or whatever. Like he does stuff like that. So Kendrick kind of did that. Now that's kind of like a play on that. So in the 616 in LA, he is going in about Drake, the people around him. He's going over his crew, how they can't be trusted. Like, you know, they're just talking about all these different things about how they're giving, he's got information. Somebody in his crew is giving information to Kendrick Lamar. And it's just like a lot of different things. And then he goes on to talk about just how, well, you get the idea that basically Drake, you can't trust your crew because why does he got this information on y'all? Like, what's going on? Like, he's spitting all this stuff. And so then on May 4th, Drake drops his diss track called Family Matters. And so in this song, he talks about how, Kendrick is supposed to be this activist. He's supposed to be this Black Messiah, but he married this mixed lady. He talks about, how he's engaged, but they never got married. And is they ever gonna get married? Do he really like her? He talks about just basically going in on the family and just talking about how his son, because again, they go back and forth about parenting, jabs at the family and everything like that. So, but before this though, Kendrick had not really gotten personal when it came to like the family. I think that after that is when Kendrick said, "Oh, all bets is off." So, Drake brings up all of the things with the family. Also alleges abuse that Kendrick supposedly had with his current fiance, high school sweetheart or whatever. So then later that day, Kendrick responds with his song Meet the Grahams. Obviously, y'all know that Drake's name is Aubrey Graham. And he basically in this song writes, I'm gonna say write a letter because it's like poetry, but he basically writes a letter to his whole family, his mom, his dad, his alleged daughter that has been nowhere to be found, that he says that Drake has a daughter who he doesn't take care of, doesn't claim, that's about 11, 12 years old supposedly. And he starts off each verse with Dear Sandra, that's Drake's mom. Then he talks about Dear Dennis or whatever, Drake's dad, and Dear Baby Girl, this baby that Drake has.
I was gonna say, he starts off with Dear Adonis, the son, and it was and it was like something to the effect
about
of,
your daddy. I'm sorry, this is your father. Right. So he's like going in on him as because again, before I think Kendrick wasn't trying to bring the family and stuff all into this, but I feel like as soon as Drake kind of did the Family Matters and started taking jabs at all of his family, he said, "Oh, okay, let's go and get in." So he goes in, talks about all these different things. I mean, in this song, Kendrick goes in. I mean, he references Drake being a pedophile. He is referencing Drake should be dead because of his actions, his behaviors. Pedophiles being on his payroll. It's just he went in, and again,
I just want to add some things he said. I'm gonna go on with specific lines, but he talked about him being on pills. He talked about him being a gambling addict. He talked about him paying for sex workers. He talked about him, of course, like you said, being a predator. He talked about him basically having an identity crisis and not knowing who he just went in, like not knowing who he is, the person.
The BBL.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was just a lot.
Zippic and all that.
Oh,
Mhm.
Zempic. Oh, Zempic.
Yes. So, he just kind of goes in. And then I think on the cover sheet for that, on the
Cover
single
art. The
cover
single art.
art, he has prescriptions, he has the pill bottles, he has receipts from different a jeweler, like all these things that are supposedly belong to Drake and are legit. So there people are like, how did he get this information? And again, there's a speculation that somebody in the camp might be playing at both sides. Then Drake hasn't responded. Everybody's waiting all day, like, what's going on? Like, Drake, Kendrick just hit you with like, we had one Friday, we had one Saturday morning. Drake, where are you? So everybody is like, are you gonna come back? Like, if you don't make this response in 24 hours, something like we gotta figure out. Now, obviously, the other thing about it is people have long talked about Drake having ghostwriters and not always writing his own songs and stuff like that, which it happens. So lots of jokes going on about basically Drake trying to get his writers together. Like they gotta, go back to the drawing board, and so after that, Drake hadn't made a song, but he put on Instagram like a little picture of himself, and it underneath it he was like, nah, I want to when do y'all find my daughter, like just kind of laughing it off, like basically he's saying, trying to confirm out of everything that Kendrick said in that song, all he wanted to confirm or talk about in that post was the fact that he is trying to maintain he doesn't have a daughter. So everybody's like, well, that's interesting. Like, what why are you just, mentioning that? So, then things was quiet for a few hours. And then later on that night, I was at the casino and I'm just scrolling and it said Kendrick dropped another one. I said, what? Kendrick? What? So now I'm like, okay, I'm trying to listen, but it's kind of loud. I'm like, we got to listen to this when we get back to the room. So he drops Not Like Us. And that's the last track that we have this thus far. We don't know if we're going to get another. We don't know what's what. But basically, he dropped his additional Drake diss. And he's still talking about Drake liking them young, being a pedophile. He's still making alluding to those claims, and you guys have to listen to it. Like, it's so much. Like, I'm probably gonna go back and just listen again because it's some things that you miss and you don't put together because you don't know everything. So like, I'm putting pieces together when I'm seeing other people's, putting stuff together from other songs or other, things in the media.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Yeah, Wise.
I was going to just say that on that last song, Not Like Us, that's the one where I fell off the couch because there's a part on there where he's talking about you trying to strike a chord, and I think it's A minor. And so I'm sitting there thinking like, oh, I'm not a music person. I wonder like if there's something specific about A minor. Like, I don't know because I'm not a music artist. And then I said, oh my God. And I literally rolled off the couch onto the floor because I'm like, oh, he's talking about them being young. Like, he really was going in on that song.
And the thing about that one is because people were complaining about like, oh, Drake, you dropped that banger, like, and so this one was like Kendrick's record that was kind of like a dance record because some of the
it's very Cali. It's very got the Cali.
It's very Cali dance record, but some of his other, songs, people were like, oh, like it was more lyrical, like we can listen to. But this is one that you jigging to.
Oh, and they are. They already
right.
I've seen clips.
I've seen the steppers. People done put memes up of them stepping to it and doing all kind of hustles and stuff. I'm just like, this is hilarious.
I mean, it was good. He did the OVO ho at the end, and everybody was going in.
OVO. And I was this step. I'm like, okay, like Kendrick. So it's like
I'm gonna say also this song too is questioning Drake's blackness, and it's almost like the idea of him being like a culture vulture and how like he grew up, with his white mother, You know, his daddy didn't raise him, and so he talks about, was it this one? I think it's this
Well,
song.
he talked about it on the one
other-
before
Okay,
this
so on
one too,
what
but
song was
on
he
this
talking
one,
about?
he really went in, like he really went all the way in.
Yes,
So
and I'm sorry, I meant to mention that. I meant to mention that too. It's so much that it was so fast. Everything was happening so fast. I couldn't sit with he. The thing about it was, I didn't get time to sit with everything because it was back to back to back. But yes, throughout this whole beef, Kendrick has been alluding to the fact that Drake is a culture vulture and how he basically goes to all these different areas to grab their culture. He talked about basically Drake being a colonizer, like going to Atlanta to get, what he could get to get his, his to boost up his, his flow, his style, or things like that, and then making money off of,
he does it all the time. Listen to Drake's music,
of
right?
course.
So like he has he has these songs where he mentions certain black places in the area. So he got a lot of songs about Atlanta. If you listen like lyrics, you can hear him mention streets in Atlanta or words. He got a song about the jungle, which is in LA. He talks about like she in the jungle, like okay, so LA. Then he got the Caribbean, like
Caribbean, Houston. He does this.
He got the Houston, Atlanta, Vegas. Like he got these songs that are very like these places or cultures that are very, very black. We've been talking about Atlanta all day. People want to hate Atlanta, but Kendrick makes it known, like, no, you really like went out there and did that, like. And then I was looking at some tweets, and people were like, "Yeah, y'all got to include Houston in that too. Like he always out here in Houston too." So it's definitely part of it.
And Drake also took shots at Kendrick, basically trying to say, "You not this hood, you not this, you don't have no set." Because Kendrick obviously is from Compton. He is, I believe, like he's never came out, from what I have heard, to say that he's a part of a gang or anything like that. But I do think he is friends with people who might have been in gangs, and so he's affiliated by just I have friends, but he's never came out to say that I am this, whatever that I know of. So I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But it's kind of like, but Drake, like, why is that a bad thing? Just because he's like, you say he don't have a set, but Drake, you don't either. It's like
You really don't.
You
he was at least in the trenches. I mean, at least he was in Compton. Like he grew up there. You was up in Toronto on the set of Degrassi. No shade. I used to like Degrassi, but you ain't about that life, sir. No, one of the things that for me that had got me on Drake's song, and this is why people felt like, it was the colonization of it all, because he said. He said something to the fact that Kendrick raps like he freed the slaves, or he was trying to free slaves. And people was like, now I don't want you to say the N-word, because on one of the songs, Kendrick said on the end, like, I don't like the way you said the N-word, I don't want you to say it. Like, basically, again, alluding to him not being fully black or whatever. But then I was like, how is that a diss? Like, okay, even if he did rap like he was trying to free the slaves, freeing the slaves that's not a bad thing. So I'm just
it's not a bad thing if you are okay in your blackness, and it's not a bad thing. But if you got some issues with your identity.
Correct.
And if you was not raised,
if you was illuminating. It's just a little illuminating, that line for me. And I was like, that's interesting that you would say that.
So, I'm interested to see where this goes if it continues. Now, I will say at this point, I'm just kind of entertained. Obviously, we're all entertained by it. But then there's another side. Okay, so and I didn't meant to mention, I forgot that after Kendrick Lamar came back out to basically check Drake and J. Cole and say that it was no big three, it's big me. J. Cole came out with a track too. That was a diss record. But after that, when he was on stage performing, he came back and like apologized and basically kind of bowed out, like he wasn't trying to be doing these back and forth diss. And we haven't heard back from J. Cole since then. And so he just said he wasn't in a headspace. He wasn't trying to do that, So this is my question, because there are some people out there who feel like, oh, why are these two men, these brothers going back and forth? This shouldn't be like this, blah, blah, blah. So my question is, have they both gone too far when it comes to the beef and the rapping? Or is this a part of the game? Like, or is there a way for them to battle it out where they're not throwing low blows or bringing up families and things like that?
I don't think it's too far. This is rap, and at least they're doing this and not using guns and violence. They're using the art to do it. So I don't think it's too far. And honestly, people, if Drake is a predator, people need to know. And you know what I mean. I think if people need to know who they're supporting, I feel like it. You know, if you can spend money to go to these concerts, buy their music, or if you're another celebrity and you didn't know all this stuff and you like, you know, hanging around, you need to know, because even on one of the songs, he was telling like LeBron and Curry, like, stop, don't have him around your kids. Don't be around him. You want to be affiliated or associated with him. I mean, I don't know. I just, whether it's true or not, I mean, it's par for the course. Honestly, I mean, it happens. One thing I did want to mention really quickly is that people are saying that Megan Thee Stallion song "Hiss" was mainly about Drake. Everybody thought it was a big old Nicki Minaj diss record, and people made the assumption that when she makes the comment off the Megan's Law that she's talking about Kenneth Petty, which is, you know, Nicki Minaj's husband, who has a sex offender, that really she was talking about Drake. And so now that Kendrick has made these songs, I think people are now saying, oh snap, Megan was really talking about Drake.
I feel like, I mean, some people that were catching on to it then. I mean, she had made lines about,
but they wanted it to be Nicki.
They wanted it to be Nicki, and then of course Nicki took the bait. You know what I mean? And she came out with her song, but it was like, you know, she was talking about him having BBL scars and stuff, and him being, So that, I mean, that's not. She definitely was coming at him. I think, especially because the whole, you know, Free Tory Lanez thing that he was talking about. You know, so I don't think it's gone too far. I mean, I feel like looking back, I feel like Drake, he kind of walked into this. Just the way he been moving the past couple of years. And I think that he was not prepared. I don't think he was prepared for Kendrick to do this.
I don't think he was prepared. And you and you mentioned like even just him asking for this, like I just brings up because there are people also bringing up the fact that how he has come at women, you know, in the past. They talk about how he came at Serena, he's come at Rihanna, he's threw jabs at Megan. Like, you're a man, why are you throwing jabs at these women? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not you know,
and I couldn't even get his last two albums. His last two albums were just horrible. Like, it's just not the best Drake work. Like, I was just I was disappointed, honestly, in Scorpion too. But it's just like, I don't know. He got to get it together.
He got to get together. And this, to be honest, this is what I would like to see. Like, from moving forward, we need a battle. Okay, we need a rap in-person battle. Freestyle.
That's not ever gonna happen.
This is what we need to see. Y'all talk about the verses. We had the verses. What we need is a freestyle battle that's live, and it needs to be off the dome topics when it comes to like okay, so because we're fighting for who's the best. We're fighting for the GOAT, right? We're fighting for who's got the skill set. Let's do it.
Kendrick got a better skill set, though.
I don't even think that's debatable.
I don't think that's debatable. I think,
if we got these two fighting about if Drake feel like, you know, okay, he's saying he the Michael Jackson or whatever, he do this. Okay, then let's put your skills up. Let's go 1-on-1 in person.
Well, he's not gonna do that.
They have different types. I think their skill sets are different.
And I think Kendrick will eat him alive in a battle rap.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't think Drake doesn't give me off the dome. I'm a freestyler. He's not that. He's gonna go in the studio and create a good song with a good flow and a good beat that we're gonna dance to at the club. That's what he's good for. He's very good at that.
That's Drake's
and he's probably the best at that. I'm not gonna hold you. He's really good at that. But I don't think the battle rap, he'll be setting himself up for embarrassment if he did.
So they just shouldn't have been in two. They just two shouldn't have been in the same category.
Yeah,
I wouldn't put that. I don't put them together.
I wouldn't have. No, I would not have.
All right.
He woke the sleeping bear.
We gonna see.
Well, do we want to go to this next topic or move on? What you think?
I mean, we already here. Let's do it. I already got the stuff going.
All right, I'll do it really, really fast. So DJ Vlad is he a DJ?
I don't even know, child.
I'm gonna try to be as politically correct as I can as I do this particular story. So he is a white man who has, you know, I guess studied hip hop. He has somehow gotten some street credibility, and a lot of artists, black actors and actresses and singers and rappers, for some reason, go to his show, his YouTube show, and he will interview them. And he asks them very, very personal questions, and they answer. I mean, they just tell all and spill all their secrets. So about 20 hours ago, DJ Vlad, do you have it, Wise?
Yep.
He tweeted, and he was referring to this song. So it says, Kendrick's Not Like Us needed a better mix. It takes away from the song. Which first I disagree with. I think the mix was great. I don't, maybe I'm not an engineer, so I don't know the ins and outs of mixing of a song, but I thought it was fine. So this woman by the name of Morgan Jerkins, she says, "You are white. This is a black folk affair." And so then he goes on to say, wait, so a professor at Princeton is telling me that a white person shouldn't be allowed to voice their opinion about hip hop. Is that how you interact with your students? And then she goes on to say, what I'm saying is that you put your opinion in a discussion that's not needed. This conversation is and should center black people and not you. And then then DJ Vlad goes on to say, well, don't try to change your words now. I'll be reaching out to Princeton about this on Monday. And then she goes on to say that the semester's over, her contract has been completed, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. He's basically trying to go back and forth and call her a bigot and say that, Princeton shouldn't hire her. And I just feel like, well, I'm gonna let y'all talk first. What do y'all think? Because I'm gonna go in. If y'all don't go in,
gotta be politically correct.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the issue when we do not gatekeep our culture. I think us as Black people, sometimes we are too open and too friendly, and we let any and everybody come in and have a piece. I feel like sometimes some of us are easily impressed by those who do things that we typically do very well. They do it very mediocre, but because they don't look like us, for whatever reason, we think that is, cool and on the up and up. And I feel like this is the prime example of Karen-like behavior. You come into our space, you get a critique about being in our space, and then you want to cry reverse racism. It's quite rich, really. And I wish that we as Black people, like I said, would understand the power that our culture has across the globally in this world, and that we fought harder to ensure that certain things stay within our circles. Because the fact that you have the audacity to say that, by the way, Morgan Jerkins is the niece, I believe, of legendary Rodney Jerkins.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about somebody having an opinion about Black music? There it is.
Tori?
Yeah. I mean, Wise, you pretty much said it. I mean, I think that it doesn't surprise me that someone like this would use their privilege to go after someone. To me, it's not even that serious for you to even try to get somebody fired. I don't even understand why it had to go to that level.
But it's hurt.
But I'm about to say it goes back, but to me, it goes down to maybe you're being insecure and just mad and pissed off that somebody had the audacity to tell you, because you're supposed to be this, probably this greater person than them, that you shouldn't be here. And since someone told you shouldn't be here, you're so offended that, now I got to do the most. I have to go and use my privilege and get this person fired because I'm butthurt. My feelings are hurt. And so that is just infuriating thing about it. And I just hope that people can recognize the type of person he is and stop going to him. Stop, he's made his career and name off of interviewing Black people and their, people in the culture, people in the music industry and different things. And, a lot of people though have recently been clocking him and saying how he's considered to be the feds because he tries to gather information in a way that gets people caught up when, in certain situations. And the thing about it is they said he's also kind of scary because he doesn't interview people in person. He does it behind like a computer. So they go to the studio. He's not even in the same room with them. You don't even go in the same room with them. And I'm like, I wonder why that is, so I just feel like it's just another scenario in which we see people try to use their privilege to destroy someone else because they're mad that someone hurt their feelings or, had the audacity to tell them they shouldn't be somewhere.
Yeah, they're not used to being told that they don't belong. And they belong any and everywhere, even in spaces that were not created, that even in spaces that were created in spite of them. Like, You're
So
not used to being told that.
This is my thing with the situation, right? First of all, let me say this: it's so many black men in the comments defending Vlad. It's so many black men in the comments saying, how she gonna gatekeep rap, and I'm thinking like, and we get on this podcast, and I feel like every other episode we say this, and I'm gonna just keep on saying it because I think it's true that most of y'all dumb. Most people just don't have any kind of critical thinking skills. I don't think this woman. No, I know for a fact this woman was not gatekeeping rap.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the issue she's talking about. The song is about a culture vulture.
Mm-hmm.
The song is about literally a person who is taking from black culture. And so it's a black affair. So when you as a white man say that it needed a better mix and it takes away from the song, it's just not your era to speak. I'm sorry, with this song, the actual content of the song, I think that's what she was truly referring to. Like, stay out of this right now, especially since some people have called him a culture vulture.
Right.
And it's a bunch of can't say it. It's a couple of
figure it out, get it together.
Men, y'all gotta get it together. Like, I need y'all to stop caping. I need y'all to stop.
Well, she's a woman.
I was just about to say I don't want to take it there.
She's a woman.
But she is a woman, a black woman. But black men are going to align with other men. Period. And you think
you don't see white men do this. White men do not get on national TV and down talk white women. You don't see Asian men get on TV and platforms and social media and dog Asian women. You don't see no Latino man getting on a public platform talking mess about Latino women. Black men got to do better. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. I hope I didn't say too much. But I'm just like, it's wild that y'all can't see what she's trying to say here, and they so quick to cape for Vlad. It's just odd.
Well, I will say on that post, I did see a lot of people supporting her.
Good.
I did see a lot of people again checking Vlad and saying how he was wrong to try to pull that card about trying to get her, fired or whatever. So I did see a lot of people, male and female, coming for her, and trying to, it was a few on there, but I mean, I did see some on there that were trying to say, he's wrong. And then another guy even said, if this doesn't show y'all need to stop going to his platform, I don't know what else to tell you. Like,
I also felt like too, I'm just thinking about it, like, was he trying to insinuate that because she works for Princeton that she has less credibility in a hip-hop conversation than he does? You know what I mean? Like, you work at this prestigious institution, and I'm tapped into the culture.
He tried to flip it and say he's a victim. He tried to flip it and say she was a bigot because she's saying he shouldn't speak on this conversation. So he really tried to flip it and be like, "Oh, I'm going to get you fired because you say in your bio that you work for Princeton."
Well, and she said he's white. I think that was the issue, because the fact that he said she's white, but I think she said that he's white, but I think the white part is important because the context of the song and the content of the song is about culture vultures, which for so many centuries, that's been an issue in our community, where we have things, we do things, and then, white people make them popular and monetize it or make it okay. You know what I mean? So it's like, that is a true issue and concern that Black folk have and should be allowed to have. And I think that's what he meant. I mean, I think that's what she meant by, excuse me. But
this conversation reminds me of one that I've been wanting to have for a minute, and maybe we could talk about this on another day, about how so many of a lot of the media that we see surrounding like Black people and hip hop comes from people who don't look like us. A lot of these Instagram blogs and stuff that is spewing these negative stories about Black people, and they put up the worst of us to be a representation, is not done by our own people.
Right.
And I do think we need to start being more diligent about these things and bringing that stuff to the forefront, because I don't think that it's just a coincidence that certain things are displayed and talked about. Because even when you look at the type of interviews that he does and the type of people that are on there and the things that have come out, like Tori was kind of alluding to about the being the feds, like the things that people go in there and say, and then for that to not be somebody from our own community, it does give you pause. So I do think it was relevant for her to mention,
Mm-hmm.
that aspect.
Yeah.
Well, we gotta keep our ears listening to see what's coming up next, to see if Drake is going to make a response. I don't know what Drake could possibly say after all this, but we'll see if he does. But we're gonna go ahead and take a quick break and go to our next segment.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Triple Dose Podcast. We're getting into our second dose, our Keeping It Real for a Minute segment. And this is where we just kind of talk and share about some things that might be a little bit enlightening or uplifting. This week, I wanted to talk about briefly about this future mindset. I've talked on this podcast recently about how, with everything going on in life and in the world right now, I find myself concerned about the future and what the world's going to look like and how um, legislation might look and how healthcare and housing and all the things that seem to be hot button issues right now, how they're going to be impacted in the future. And as a recovering worrier um, about all these types of things all the time, I'm often inspired or moved by things that I see online that refer to ways in which we look at and observe the future. And there was two things that I saw that kind of reminded me of kind of like how there could be two camps of thought from this. The first one being someone had posted this that says like, can someone post any useful sentences that will change my life immediately? And somebody posted, don't borrow grief from the future. And I was like, oh my God, that's so enlightening for me as somebody who is like I said, a recovering worrier. Like, don't spend too much time thinking about the sadness of what could be happening in the future. Also, because I think we're not there yet, for one. But on the other hand, we don't know that there's going to be grief to borrow from, right? So like we're putting an assumption on it. And that's easy to do when you look at everything that's happening. You feel concerned, right? But we often don't put the same amount of weight on the positive things that could be happening that could be influencing us in the future as well. And then there was this other side of this that I thought was interesting. This isn't something that necessarily I relate to, but I think I see this a lot with people. And it says it's easy to self sabotage because it enables you to predict the future and it gives you an illusion of control. And I was like, man, that's so illuminating because, I don't know if you guys ever seen people or know people where it's like you see potential, you see uh, you know, the person and the things that they could possibly do, and it seems like they can't ever make a right decision. And you it's frustrating to watch, and it's frustrating to be a part of if you know anybody like that. And it's like, oh, you just want to shake the person because it's like, you know, you could be so many things, but it seems like you're, hell bent or stuck on making the wrong decision and self sabotage. And you always think of it as like, I don't know. I never thought of it from the perspective of like they might feel like they're out of control, things in their life going on, and that the uncertainty of it all gives them so much anxiety, or they don't know what to do with that feeling of uncertainty. So they do things to self sabotage because it makes them feel like they can predict and say, well, you know what? Nothing ever good happens for me. This is just, I'm a self sabotage the situation because that's what I'm used to and that's familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes them feel like they have control in a situation where they don't ever see having any kind of control. And I don't know. I just wanted to share those things about having a future mindset that we can kind of let go of borrowing grief from the future, looking at things from that negative point of view, or even being in cycles or patterns where because of a fear and because of uncertainty, we allow ourselves to shut things out before they've even gotten to where they could possibly go. Um, and so I don't know. That's just what I was on my mind and heart to share this week about thinking about the future. And I've talked before about, like I said, the future and the politics and everything going on. It's very easy to have negative ideas about the future, but just trying to take it one day at a time and being the type of person that says, like we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, you know. And I feel like having that mindset so much has relieved me of spending so much time worrying about things that I might not actually even have to worry about before I even, get there.
Well, I'm definitely going to add that to my toolbox because that was very, very helpful. Thank you for that, Wise. We are going to take another break and then get into our last segment, the triple dose. So, I have an Am I the A-hole, and this is a doozy. It's kind of long, and I want y'all to rock with me, okay? And I titled this Molly, You in Danger, Girl. This is not what they titled it, but I'm going to just read it, and then you tell me. I'm going to let y'all talk about it. So it says, this is a woman. She says she's 31, and her husband's 32. I have many, many houseplants, and even some that were quite expensive and were gifts from my sister. Within the last 6 months, at least a third of my plants have died. I have houseplants my whole life due to my late mother's own love of houseplants, and I know a lot about plants. The death of the plants didn't seem related to lack of light or inconsistent watering or lack of nutrients or even root rot. They just died very suddenly. I tried not to let it upset me too much because plants die, and it was not any of the expensive ones until now. My sister gave me a 5-leaf Monstera albo rooted plant for my birthday 2 months ago. It was beautiful. Side note, I looked up that plant, and the cost for that plant can range from $200 to $400.
It's a beautiful plant, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This morning, I was crying pretty hard about it as I uprooted it. And I took a look at the roots, and I was looking hard at this plant and at the roots to see if its death was pest related. And that's when I noticed a smell. I sniffed my potting mix and I smelled bleach. The only other adult person in my home with unlimited and unobserved access to my plants is my husband. I wasn't able to talk to him for several hours, but when I could speak to him, I very calmly but very directly asked him if he had done something to my plants. He denied it at first. I said I smelled bleach in the potting mix of the album my sister had gotten me, and that the only person that could have put it there was him, and he caved. He said he was putting small amounts of bleach into the fertilizer water jugs I prepare. I started crying. I asked him why. Why would you do this? You know I love these plants. Why would you destroy them? He didn't really answer, nor did he really apologize. The trust I had in him is absolutely gone. I think maybe counseling could help us, but he is the one that did this. But I'm the one that would have to set up the counseling. The angry part of me just wants to be done with this relationship. I know that might seem overboard as we are married and share a child, but I feel now that I am not safe around my husband. What are your thoughts?
I think you'd be right.
Psychopath.
That's crazy. I mean, I don't even know what to say.
Psychopath.
It almost reminds me of like when couples have babies and like the husbands will get jealous of the baby, like this irrational jealousy ego thing, like because she has something that she enjoys, you just can't stand to see her enjoy it. And for you to do that to a freaking like for you to be jealous of a freaking plant, that's ridiculous. Like that I feel like gardening is the most basic non-threatening thing a person could do. Like you're mad because and then you're slowly poisoning them over time. That is psychotic. I don't know if that's in the DSM-5, but it should be.
Oh, he needs to be institutionalized.
That's why I said psychopath. Because so my issue is the fact that you knew this bring her joy, you knew this bring her happiness, and for you to be with someone and you would kill their joy little by little, like that to me is dangerous. Like you're doing, like there's no reason that you should.
And it's such a small joy, like nothing
Yeah, just something
extravagant.
simple, and a lot of people love their plants. A lot of people, they're good for the environment, good for the home, good for the air and energy and all that. And it's just something simple. It doesn't even take much to care for a plant. Like, you know what I mean? You water them, you give them sun, you trim them, you clean them up or whatever here and there. But it's like for you to just chip away and slowly, you know, you know, kill something that brings her that joy, and that people gifted her this and spent their money and they time to do that for her. Like, there's no way you can justify doing something like that. It's evil. It's very evil.
It's just plain evil, and he needs to be in an institution. I have a little update. Well, some more context. She says, after the text communication, I went home from work early and I entered his office. I usually respect his space, absolutely. I don't even go in there to grab dirty dishes. I don't know what I was looking for, but the hundreds of comments saying he was working up to something worse or already was doing something else really worried me. I went in there and I found a drawer full of my daughter's dolls and dollhouse furniture and little toys. I bought her that dollhouse for her 4th birthday last year and she has loved it. She takes such good care of her toys, but something always ends up missing, and it's always my husband who notices. He lectures her about keeping track of her things and how he won't let her play with her dollhouse if she keeps losing things. He keeps going till she starts to sob. When I hear this going on, I always step in and ask him to go take a break. I assume he was losing his cool. I've told him that it's not how I deal with this this is not how to deal with a kid, and he says he just wants her to grow up responsible. I now see it as some weird scheme or setup or something. He would steal the stuff and stash it away and point out it was gone to berate our daughter till she cried.
Girl, run for the border. Run.
That's why I said, Molly, you in danger.
Run.
You and that baby.
It's very scary. That is very scary. Like she needs to leave. I almost said something, but I ain't going.
I don't understand what it is about these people who take joy and pleasure and suffering of other people. That's why I said psychopath. You have to leave because there is no end to where he's going to get his rocks off from him seeing you suffer. Did you was there any other parts to this that you wanted to add?
Oh, no.
So I was debating on talking about this because I've seen this on social media. And I don't know if you guys seen this as well. But this guy wrote in like a Reddit. And he was saying that, he felt bad because he was too rough with his wife. So he said he had been taking this testosterone supplement to help him with his endurance and strength in the gym. And it just has been making him more just, energized and stronger. And I guess also wanting to have relations with his wife.
Oh, no.
So he says in this letter that there was a night that him and his wife were going to get, intimate, and she said okay, but just be gentle because she was still a little sore from the morning. So he says that he was going and he was gentle, but then something just took over him and he started going rougher and he couldn't stop himself. And he says he noticed she was asking him to like slow down and trying to like reach her hand back to like plead with him to, this is a lot, but her being in that state was just so cute to him and he kept going. And so
Sure.
he said that all he could focus on was making her come to this climax.
But
So he says they do the deed. When they're done, she puts her robe on and is sobbing. And when he says, "Oh, baby, what's wrong?" She was like, "I told you to be gentle. It's you hurting me, you know." So then he says the next day he tells his friend about it and he just felt so bad. And now he's trying to decide what he should do. Should he buy her some flowers and take her to dinner? Because he just feels so bad that. And so people in Twitter were saying that's rape.
yeah,
You raped your wife.
yeah.
Call the feds.
So you trying to say, "Oh, I just don't know what happened," or "Oh, I thought she was just so cute, pleading for me to stop." You have a fetish or an issue with seeing somebody suffer, like point blank, period, and that is dangerous. And and you don't see it as the R word, but it is. And so that, to me, that type of thought process, that type of you willingly seeing someone in pain or hurting and suffering and you still continue to do things, or you do it in the first place,
Yeah.
that is dangerous and it concerns. You need to run. So for this lady that I'm referring to, the lady in this letter with the you need to run because it only will escalate to a point where they not getting their rocks off from this no more, and it's going to go more and more and more and more.
It's just, he's sick. And it's just wild to me that people are literally getting up every day, going to work, driving in their cars. You see them at the Kroger, and they sick. Like,
Yeah,
they're evil.
You just never know.
You just never know. And she says later on her letter, she did give a little bit of an update, and she does say that she, her dad or her sister and her sister's husband came over and changed the locks, and that they told him that he can come back on like the following week to get his stuff that he needs to get. So that's what she said, but there's been no update since then. So I don't know if that's true or how long that's gonna last or what it's gonna be, but it's certain things I'm looking out for. And people really clown me about my red flags, and maybe I'm a bit of a, sometimes I'm too cautious.
You do a little too much sometimes.
I do. I've been through some stuff in my life, but I'll tell you, like, if I see you being rude to a waitress, what are we going? I don't think we can be together. I need somebody who's, if you can't be kind and just be a decent human being, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. Mm-hmm. You killing my plants. Yeah, she got to go.
People got to pay attention to these things. People got to pay attention. I mean, I'm not saying maybe she didn't notice something else in their dating and courting time, and I don't know, because people can't hide. But
why are you yelling at my child enough to make them cry when they're 4 years old about losing toys?
Stuff, right? That's
4-year-olds lose toys all the time. So even if you want to reprimand her or get her to have her to be responsible, yelling at her enough and berating her to the point where she's crying is excessive.
I wouldn't trust you with my child. And see, this is why I could see why somebody might stay in a relationship with somebody like this. Because can you imagine now I have to get a divorce and the courts tell me that I have to send my child to you and I can't be there to see what's going on. I can't protect my child. Like, these are the situations where I will see why people might wait and say it's better to stay because I can't trust what you're going to do when I'm not there to protect you. And somebody like this is going to fight to get custody because from the outside in, they're going to want everybody to think they're perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So they're going to want to do the most that they can. These are probably the sick individuals who fight to get the full custody and the mom get nothing. Right. Because I want to torment you so bad. It ain't even the fact that I love this child and I want to care for them. It's just I want to get back at you. Mm-hmm. So you got to be careful who you decide to marry or lay down with. It's
that just
serious.
Gave me a whole,
very scary.
That just gave me a whole another perspective of fear. Like maybe she shouldn't leave
A
because
whole
ooh,
nother
that's
perspective. And that's
scary.
why when it comes to abuse, when people talk about why don't they just leave? Well, you know what I mean? It's deeper than that. Like, it's not only is it the physical, it's the emotional, it's the psychological, but I know what's going on here. I know what to expect. If I leave, I'm gonna be forever watching my back, or my kids, I can't protect them, or so it's so many different layers
This is where
to
just
it.
marital abandonment. Just leave.
But you
Just
can't. Why?
You can't do that.
And
I
there's
know,
some
but
laws and
I
cities. If
know,
you
but it
leave,
need to be
now they're gonna say you didn't
exceptions.
kidnap the babies, and then this husband who was you trying to get away from can get all the custody.
And it's some states right now who's I don't know if it's Texas. I don't want to give you the line, but it's a southern state that basically just said that you can't even file for divorce if you're pregnant. So that if you're pregnant now, they don't want you to be able to file for divorce.
I saw that.
Yeah, so it's just like
it's hard. It's very hard, but I wouldn't trust nothing, and that's not a way to live. So I feel bad, but
y'all gotta not y'all, but people gotta pay attention. I'm not blaming her at all. Let me make that clear. But I think we need to pay attention to people. You have to pay attention, use discernment, prayer, ask the Lord to show you their spirit. Okay, like you really gotta know like how people are, and if they not treating other people right, it's bound to happen to you one day. It's bound to flip on you one day. If they can't be a good person, a genuine person to others, it's bound to happen to you. But I hope she's okay. That when I read this, and it was actually I saw it in a Twitter thread about emotional manipulation and emotional
It's
abuse,
definitely abusive.
and emotional abuse. And this was the example that somebody mentioned. Like this is the perfect example of some emotional abuse of just normal joy, like Wise mentioned, and how you take away your partner's joy. So
you seeing her crying, going crazy about trying to figure out what's going on with her plants. You done cause. You be rating your child over losing.
And she said she has a sunroom of plants. So it's not just like 2 or 3 house plants. Yeah. She has like a sunroom that he doesn't go in that has all these plants in them, and that's what he had been doing.
I'm getting cameras in my house. Yeah. I tell you that much. Even if she did change the locks and stuff or whatever, I'm getting cameras in every room. I'm gonna have the access to the cameras outside the house, in the house, in my baby's room, because I can't trust.
Well, I hate to end it on a serious note, but I need y'all to know and be out here and be vigilant, okay, paying attention.
Keep your head on a swivel.
Please do. Well, this is going to wrap up our episode of the Triple Dose Podcast. We hope that you enjoyed the show. Please reach out to us and let us know if you have any ideas, topics, or questions at our Instagram and our Twitter at Triple Dose Pod. We will see you next time.
Peace.
Bye, y'all.